The reason why I started posting on TikTok is because I saw somebody posted, if you post on TikTok every single day for an entire year, you'll never have to worry about money again. And I took that and I was like, bet, I'm going to try that.
Say less.
Because, and I think it's obviously a bit exaggerated. It doesn't mean like infinite money is going to come rolling into your bank account, but it does mean that you'll always have a client, you'll always have an opportunity,
100%.
you'll always have the thing you need. So that's really what triggered me into doing it. I was like, okay, I'm going to see if this is actually true. And it is true.
Yeah, for sure.
What I wish I knew at 19 instead of 45. The negative things you say to yourself about your body are not true. In fact, pretty much everything you say to yourself that's negative is a lie. You don't need to listen to and believe lies. You are not fat. You are not incompetent. You are not lazy. It's all lies. If you feel anxious or overwhelmed, go for a walk. Bring your phone for safety, but do not go on it. Go for a walk and look at things. You didn't have a phone when you were 19, but you used other things for distraction. Just don't. Go outside and look at things. Your body is meant to be nourished. You are meant to eat. No one has figured out the perfect diet. The perfect diet simply does not exist. The whole topic of nutrition is filled with false information, marketing, and outright lies. And if you blindly follow some of that stuff, you can actually damage your body. Your mom destroyed her body with those terrible diets that were marketed as healthy. There are basic simplicities in nutrition, but you need to figure out what works for your own body. And by works, that means gives you energy and makes you feel good. For you personally, it's animal proteins, lots of fruits and vegetables, beans a few times a month, fats like butter, avocados, and olives, fiber and fermented foods that feed your gut, sweet potatoes and grains in sync with your menstrual cycle. But you will never give up a fantastic cookie, croissant, or ice cream. There's no reason to do that to yourself. Move and nourish your body. Do not tell it harmful lies. And make it strong. You can really be your own best friend. Aging is cool.
I'm about to clock some tea real quick, so brace yourself. You have to create more than you consume. Especially if you are overly ambitious, you need to be creating more than you are consuming. My mom actually taught me this concept years ago, and it has totally shaped my mindset. So here comes the tea clocking part. You are not actively changing your life by sitting on social media and spending so much time watching other people live these lavish lives that you think that you want. My life changed tremendously when I started spending less time watching the vlogs, watching all the it girls on TikTok, doing this, that, and the third, and actually getting into the field, rolling up my sleeves. You can spend a little bit of time at first for inspiration to see what life could look like, looking at other people's stuff. I love it. I love some aspiration, but you really just spending all of your time doing that is going against the goal. Start doing shit, start trying shit, start creating stuff. Even if it doesn't work, like throw things at the wall until something sticks, but start creating. You can't be overly ambitious and just be a consumer. And as I said before, this doesn't mean that you have to stop, just watching, consuming. But let's go back to my mom's main point. Create more than you consume. So as long as that ratio is I'm doing more creating, I'm trying things, I'm actually in the world living, putting myself out there, trying to start that business, starting to create content, applying for jobs, whatever, more than I'm sitting up watching other people live their damn lives, that's when you have a better ratio.
3 ways to create wealth. Sorry, I'm watching the sunrise. 3 ways to create wealth. How do you create wealth? Everybody talks about creating wealth. What are the steps to create wealth? Well, first you have to have a life design. You have to design your life. Without it, without a plan, those who fail to plan are planning to fail. That is so true. But how do you start? How do you start designing wealth? Well, first you have to have a life blueprint. Then you start by creating a business. You need a business. Having a job is no way to build wealth. It's going to take you 40 or 50 years to do so. You can do it if you're willing to wait 40 or 50 years. But the quickest way to design and build wealth and build quality of life is by starting a business. So watch the top 10 most profitable businesses video pinned to my profile. Pick one. I don't care which one. Just pick one. Any of them will get you to creating generational wealth. But first you have to have a plan. You have to have a design. You have to have the desire to do so. But once you have a plan, sit down with someone like me. It doesn't have to be me. Anyone who has done this before, but sit down and design it. Create, put pen to paper. You know, there's more of a commitment when you put pen to paper instead of typing on the keyboard. Pen to paper, then you can always transfer it, you know, to your computer. But pen to paper, figure out what it is you want. Where do you want to be? Then figure out where you are. What are your skills and asset inventory? Do a skills and asset inventory. What do you have? What's your credit score? How much money do you have in the bank? What cars? What assets? What skills do you have that will help you start a business? And I'm not saying, you know, take your skills and turn a business into a job. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you need to figure out what you're good at and what people you need to get on your team to have the opposite skills. So if you're not great at public speaking or you're not great at financials, then find skills in other people who are great. Find a great bookkeeper who is great at financials. Find skills that you will need. Find marketing expert, branding expert, you know, a tax strategy lawyer. Even though these are just consultants, they're there to make sure you design the perfect business, to design the perfect life. Does that make sense? So everything you want has to be designed. The relationship you want has to be designed. Everything has to be designed. So how, and what's the most important aspect of any business? I've said it 10,000 times already. Trust. You cannot start a business these days without trust. You cannot start a business these days without trust. And don't you dare turn a business into a job. So get help. You should never, ever, ever start a business alone, ever. You should never start a business alone. You should always have people around you who are going through the same challenges, so you can share the excitement. And you know, every negative point you should share, every positive moment you should share, because sharing is part of life. We are social creatures. We should never ever be doing anything alone. You should never have lunch alone. You should never have dinner alone, right? Share your experiences with people in your CEO club. Share every experience, and that way you're going to see the mistakes you're going to make a year or two down the road by just having communication or conversations with other people who are doing the same thing you are. All right. A lot of times it's easier looking from out in. When someone describes their life or their business blueprint, you can see the flaws in their mistakes. Now you can have a conversation. By you communicating your business blueprint, your life blueprint, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, your everything that you're planning, the fact that you're verbalizing your goals, you can see the blind spots, you can see the holes. And if you can't, then other people will see them for you, right? And explain, well, how are you going to do that? How are you going to make sure you have enough clients? How are you going to make sure you have well-trained employees? How are you going to make sure you have, you know, a system to attract clients, like a conveyor belt attract and brings clients to you on the regular intervals? How are you going to do that? How are you going to create the need? Right? Because every business has to create the need for your product and service. If you're not creating the need, then you're just, you know, like every other company that faces a 96% failure rate. So creating and understanding for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and how you're going to take care of future problems that you're going to create should be part of your business blueprint. So sitting down and discussing and envisioning what your life is going to look like, because you're designing a business to deliver that quality of life. Does that make sense? Everything should be right in front of you. Everything should be controlled by you. The economy doesn't control you. The government doesn't control you. Your employees don't control you. Negative circumstances do not control you, because you create negative circumstances by either action or inaction. Does that make sense? So if you truly want to design your life, if you truly want to have the perfect life, then you need to sit down, pen to paper, with a group of people, preferably, and say, okay, I'm vulnerable. I'm putting all my cards on the table. What do I need to do? How do I change my life? And here are my skills and asset inventory. Post your questions, comments below. Are you vulnerable enough to do this? Type a yes below, or type a no below. Then we know which people need some help. Type yes or no below. That's all you need to do to ask for help. It's either a yes, you're willing to be part of a group to discuss this and start designing your life, or no, which means you need some help, you need some more encouragement. Either way is I was going to say a cry for help. It's not a cry for help, it's an ask, and that's all you need to do these days. Post your questions, comment below. It's a yes or no. We'll talk soon. Take care.
You're probably inclined to think, I can make it there, I can achieve it if I work really, really hard. But what if instead it was, I can achieve it, I can make it there if I have a lot of fun. If I have a lot of playtime, if I allow myself to enjoy every single step of the process, then of course it's going to come in because I'm already matching that energy. I'm already matching that vibration. And then all I have to do is allow it and let it in rather than forcing it, rushing it, and hustling towards it.
I made a video about how I find it really weird that so many people's greatest fear is losing their job, yet their greatest desire is quitting their job. Literally the exact same experience, the exact same outcome, but a completely different emotional experience because of the way that they've assigned the meaning to the experience. When they're fired from the job, they take it as it's happening to them, they're the victim, they're in that survival mode, right? But when they're the one quitting the job, it's coming from them, they're empowered, they're gonna make their life what they want it to be. Same exact result. They no longer have that job, even though they didn't want it in the first place, but a completely different emotional state that's produced by that experience. And as we all know, our emotional states determine everything because that determines your actions and behaviors moving forward, which create the results that you get and the way things materialize in your life. The reason I'm making this video again was because a lot of people were commenting and saying that there was like audio glitches on that video. So I don't know if everyone stuck around and listened to all the points I was making with it, but I think this is an important topic because I was essentially saying that it's your responsibility to define the meaning to an experience that you're having. And there actually is no meaning to anything in life until you give it a meaning. And we've sort of just been conditioned to giving meanings to things because beliefs have just been handed down to us. We've watched movies. We know exactly how you're supposed to react when somebody dumps you or divorces you, or when you lose a job, or when you get a parking ticket, or when you spill a plate of food, or whatever these things. We just have assigned these meanings that these are not supposed to be happening. These are inconveniences, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And as a result, our emotional state changes. We have emotional reactions, which then really just slow down the process of us receiving things that we would prefer. So ultimately, you could look at these unfortunate experiences and come at them with a different meaning. Say something like, hey, in order for something new and beautiful to be built, sometimes things need to fall apart. Maybe this is what I need to be experiencing in order to make space. Maybe the higher power is trying to make space for something new and fresh for me, right? And maybe this is exactly what needs to happen in order for the unfolding towards that greater desire that you don't even know what it is. That's what faith can be, right? Like having trust that there's something on the other side and that this is a bridge that's taking you there. The thing is that you can't fake this though. If you are currently living in a way in which you're always assigning disempowering meanings to things, you can't just instantly apply an empowering meaning and say everything's always working out for the highest good because you don't believe it. So if you're in that situation, don't beat yourself up about it. Be okay with it. Understand that it's okay that you're having disempowering beliefs about experiences that really bring you down and, make you sad or angry or whatever these lower, emotions are that you prefer not to feel, and just say, I would like to be able to see if there's a blessing in this. Maybe there is. Just be open. Start entertaining the possibility that maybe there's another meaning to this experience. Maybe it doesn't have to be the disempowering meaning that you've assigned to it or that you've all just been conditioned to assign to things. And so in that video, I was using a few different examples where I was saying, like, you could be diagnosed with cancer and you could immediately go to the meaning of, like, this is not supposed to be happening. I need to fight for my life. This is going to be a long and hard battle. You can start looking into everybody else's situations and how it worked out for them. You can basically just drive yourself crazy. And I understand why you would do it. And I was even saying that, like, if I was diagnosed with cancer, it's not like I would instantly be like, oh, this is amazing or something like that. That wouldn't necessarily be my first reaction. But another meaning that you could apply to a situation like that when you receive that diagnosis is like, wow, this is a reality check. This is a wake-up call. This is something that's showing me that, you know what? I've not been living my life the way I want to be living to its fullest expression. This is something that's the catalyst that's helping me create something that I prefer. This is helping me create the changes that I really want. I was taking my life for granted before. You could look at it in a certain way where this is actually a blessing and there's something on the other side of it that it's creating. And that takes trust. That does take trust in a higher power. One of the things that I always go to is I tell myself something good is trying to happen. The thing is, something good is trying to happen. Something good is always trying to happen, always. This is a good universe. It's always trying to happen, but you have to get out of your own way and allow the space to let go of the oars and let this river take you where it's going, and that's the surrender. And You know, another example I was using could be like if you got held up on the street for your wallet, and you know somebody stole your wallet and ran off with it. You're all shaken up by it. You could apply the meaning like, this is a scary world. People are dangerous. Like, I need to be more on guard. I can't trust people. Blah blah blah. Or you could look at it in a totally different way and say, you know what? That's too bad that there are some people that need to resort to violence and theft because they're that desperate. And look at how blessed I am that I have a wallet that somebody wanted so badly. Like, you know, they obviously needed it more than I needed it. Like, this experience is reminding me of all the blessings that I actually have. And what's really beautiful is if you can actually entertain a meaning like that, or sustain a meaning like that to apply to your experiences, the natural byproduct actually becomes things like having compassion for the person who did you wrong. And that's a really beautiful thing, because then you're like, wow, I hope that they, you know, find their way and don't have to continue resorting to that kind of thing. You know, I hope, like, all you do is you see it as a reminder of what's going so beautifully well in your life, right? And that's a really empowering state. And so your emotional state is now in a place of empowerment. And so the way that life unfolds and the things that unfold because of that experience work out in your favor. Whereas if you restrict yourself by applying meanings that disempower you, then the way that you're interpreting information and the way that you're led to behave and take certain actions don't allow the continual unfolding to show you how that thing was actually working out in your favor, if that makes sense.
An underconsumption thought I've been having. You should always get the exact version of the thing that you want. Don't go for the dupe. I don't believe in dupes. Unless it's like skincare, in which case I'm like, I don't want to spend a lot of money on skincare. I just want my skin to look good. When it comes to like designer handbags, don't buy a dupe. When it comes to like the Skims top you want, like, don't buy the dupe. Buy the real thing. You will always be so happy. I had a funny experience recently where I'd been kind of thinking that I wanted to go out to like fancy meals more. And my husband took me to this like really nice sushi place, not Nobu, a different place. It was in Tribeca. And we left and I was like, I thought that's what I wanted, but it actually wasn't that satisfying to me to go out to like a fancy restaurant. And of course, like, I go out to eat all the time, if I'm being completely honest, because I live in New York and we eat out a lot. Even just for like normal meals sometimes, like not even for like a special occasion, just because it's like, oh, I don't feel like cooking today. Let's go out to eat. Anyway, my point here is invest in the things that you actually value. Secondly, this is something I've been learning with intuitive eating, but it's also something I harp on about a lot with underconsumption. And it's like, make sure that you're getting something from the place of like, I actually really want this thing, as opposed to, oh, this is just fulfilling an emotional need. And what I mean is, you know, when you like overeat because you're like going through something emotionally, don't eat in those instances. It's so hard, I know, but just don't do it. Similarly with fashion, or with like just buying stuff, if you're buying something for the wrong reason and the right reason is, I authentically want this, I authentically need this, I'm at the grocery store and I make eggs for breakfast every morning and I don't have eggs at home and I want to make breakfast tomorrow, so I need eggs. Or more importantly, I really authentically love this sweater. I'm wearing an outfit of all stuff I bought secondhand recently, and I love it so much. I love this sweater. I love this schoolgirl skirt. I authentically really love this whatever piece of clothing. Then that's a reason to get it. Not, I'm feeling not good about myself, I did poorly in this instance, and I need something to pick me up. That's not an instance in which you should buy something. I've been trying to line my eyes, like actually between the eyelashes. It's quite hard to do. But I have a feeling Carolyn Bessette Kennedy did this. And we all know how much I love Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. I just don't love wearing eyeliner because I feel like it always ends up on my, under my eyes. I have a feeling she did this because in a lot of photos, you see that her eye, like her waterline is really dark, but you don't really see eyeliner. So it's like very much hidden in there. And last but not least, this one's really important. It's go through your stuff that you have now and allow it to like do the Marie Kondo method. Declutter, only keep what sparks joy, and this will give you so much clarity about who you are and what you actually like, what your taste actually is. And once you have more clarity on who you are and what your taste is, and it might take some time, that is so useful, because then when you go out into the world and then engage with, you know, makeup or clothing or, you know, buying an apartment in New York City or boyfriends, you can know who you are and what you want. Let's see if this sleepy tie thing did anything for my hair. Yeah, that looks definitely more neat than it did. If you have any underconsumption questions, write them below so I can make videos about them.
What do you do when you're dating someone and it's long term and you suddenly realize that they are not going to be your forever person? And once that gets into your brain, it's really hard to shut that off. So I was in a long-term relationship a few years ago, and we had a lot of things in common, but we also had a very different way of addressing things. I'm very romantic. I like to create memory, to create special events, to try to like nurture the relationship. And my partner at the time was very unemotional and very analytical, very type A, and really didn't think it was necessary to spend time nurturing the relationship. So we were traveling and we had rented this beautiful villa on a beach in Thailand, and it was gorgeous. And in the villa when we got there was a beautiful bottle of champagne, and we got in at about 8 o'clock at night. And I said to him, let's go down onto the beach and pop the champagne and sit under the stars and really sort of create this beautiful ambience that's really romantic. And his reply was, I don't really want to get sand on my feet. And I said, okay, well, you can wear shoes or you can wash your feet when you come back to the room. Like, we can work through this. We can workshop it. It's fine. He said, no. You go and you just sit on the beach and you have the champagne because it's something that you want to do. And I thought to myself, yeah, but I don't really want to do it by myself. I want to do it as a couple. And I want this to be this beautiful romantic little moment that we have. Anyway, he categorically did not want to do it. And that was disappointing for me. So I did go down onto the beach by myself, popped the champagne, sat there, looked at the moon, looked at the stars, watched other couples wandering past holding hands, and I thought, you know what, he's not my person. He's not my person. And it's a shame because we did love each other, but he just didn't want to share in those special little moments that I wanted to create for both of us. He didn't see a need for it, and that caused a big disconnect. And once that creeps in, it's extremely difficult to come back from. So I guess the moral of the story is it did take me a couple of years to break up with him after that, because I did try to push through, and I guess I tried to push down my core needs, which were affection and romance, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, he was providing other things that I needed and vice versa. But that was a really important part of my, I guess, love language. So we eventually broke up. But what I'm trying to tell you, male and female, is that if there's something in your core that you really need in a relationship and you're not getting it from your partner, you really have to sit back and think whether or not this relationship is for you. And it is scary to think about being single, and it is scary to walk away from someone that you love because you're not getting all your needs fulfilled. But I am so much more at peace now by myself than I probably was dating someone for almost 8 years and getting this lack of emotional connection that I needed was really sad and actually a bit soul destroying. So I'd rather be alone and content and peaceful than yearning for something that someone's not giving me. Have you been in this situation? Have you had to leave someone because you're just not getting what you need emotionally? It's sad, but it has to be done, and you will be better for it. So don't settle.
One of the most badass things I've ever seen a woman do is when she found out her boyfriend was cheating on her and inappropriately messaging all of these girls, she never once again spoke to him. Not once. She broke it off and he never heard from her again. And he called her, wrote her letters like through snail mail. He did everything to try to explain himself, to try to get back together. He's gonna change, you know, he loves her. And not once ever did she ever reply to him. He has never heard from her again. And that is so badass.
This is just a reminder that you can embrace underconsumption without underconsuming in every single aspect of your life. The point isn't to feel guilty every time you spend money. Underconsumption is just stepping back from that pressure to consume and consuming mindfully and being really honest about if you're actually using those items, if you actually value those items, or if you're just impulse buying because you saw a haul on TikTok or Instagram, or you feel like you're missing out because you don't have 10 different blushes or 5 different Stanley cups. It's really just about being content and happy with what you already have and letting the things you have be enough. But it also doesn't mean you're not allowed to spend money and all spending is bad. And there's nothing wrong with saving up and splurging on something you really want. It just brings me back to the quote, you can have anything you want, just not everything you want. Something that's helped me a lot with spending and just consuming less in general is literally listing out the things I feel really good spending money on, things I use consistently, versus the things I spend money on because I feel some sort of pressure to buy it, or things that I'm buying for like my fantasy self, like the person I wish I was, but I know I'm not gonna be. So I wanna know the things that you love to buy and feel really good about spending money on versus the things that you really embrace under consumption. And I'll leave mine in the caption.
I'm at a place in my life now where I don't need to be on holiday more than 10 days. 10 days is my maximum. My clothes are dirty. I want to sleep in my bed. I want to eat a vegetable. I want to drink 6 liters of water. 2 weeks, you have to be out of your damn mind. And that's how you know you're an adult. And it's sad, but it's true.
If you started celebrating all the shitty stuff happening in your reality, you will 10x your impact and income. Because when you start seeing your problems as portals to your next level, your success will be inevitable. Let me give you an example. About 6 months ago, I went through a shocking and traumatic breakup. And during this time, I had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in my business, on marketing websites, you name it, all the things, and I hadn't seen an ROI yet. On top of that, my dad had logged into my bank and saw how much I had been spending, which he's literally never done before. In fact, I don't even know how he got my information. Anywho, him and my mom stopped talking to me, and he literally was like, I have failed as a father. He actually thought that I had lost my mind. And the last little cherry on top is that I was living in my dead grandma's house because my world tour of trying to find a house completely failed. So here I am at 36 years old, living in my dead grandparents' house. My parents aren't talking to me. My relationship had just ended. And on top of that, my business was a hot mess. Most people would be freaking the fuck out. I, on the other hand, was having dance parties on the beach, celebrating my new life. And because I chose to see everything crumbling around me as my initiation into my quantum leap, that's exactly what happened. In a matter of months, I 200x my income, won a bunch of awards, and started traveling the world, living out of 5-star hotels, helping women quantum leap by upgrading their identities. So starting today, celebrate your problems, because when you starve the power, they quite literally can no longer exist in your psyche or in your reality. And the next thing you know, you'll be on a brand new timeline with all new characters, making the impact and income of your dreams. Trust me.
You will tell a guy for 6 months that you're unhappy, and if something doesn't change, then you're going to leave. Nothing will change, and you'll pack your bags and you'll say goodbye, and then he'll say, wait, actually, I think that I can do all those things that you've been asking me to do our entire relationship. I think that I can do them. I can stop liking those girls' photos online. I can stop watching the game while we're out on dates, and I can start treating you with an ounce of respect, but only once you leave. Because now it's about him. Now he's in a position to get his heart broken. Now he's in a position where his life is about to get harder. But it wasn't worth changing when your life was hard. It wasn't worth changing when your heart was broken, when you were begging him for something. And that is what drives me insane.
Last week I made a video talking about my planning and goal setting routine for 2025. Today I'm going to give you a declutter checklist because we are coming up on the last 2 months of the year, and This is something that takes a lot of time. You don't want to save it all for like the last week of December when you're like scrambling. There's the holidays, there's a lot going on, you're prepping for the new year. So we're going to start now, and I'm going to give you this list, and there will be a opportunity for you to screenshot at the end if you're interested. So don't ask me in the comments. We're going to start out with the digital because it's just as important as your physical space, in my opinion, because we spend so much of our lives online. So you want to just have it be clean, clear, organized so that your mental clarity is better too when you go and use these different devices. So starting out with cleaning out your photos, I have like 12,000 right now, and my iCloud storage is full and it's really stressing me out. I have been like setting aside 30 minutes every single day to go through and start cleaning these folders out. I check like my videos, my screenshots, my favorites folders, and I just go through and delete everything, especially duplicates. I have so many pictures where I'm like closing my eyes or blinking or something. I don't need those anymore, so cleaning that out. I'm also going through my old text messages and deleting any of those that I no longer need. I have so many of those spam ones or like shopping ones that are like, here's 10% off of whatever, or we're having a sale. So I'm also unsubscribing from those before I delete the messages. Then I'm going through my desktop and downloads folder on my computer. I like to just organize this so that I know where everything is. I'm deleting old files or pictures or things that I had downloaded that I no longer need. It's just, why keep it there? And I also do this on my work laptop. I love going into the new year for work, like refreshed too. And then another thing is going through your favorites and bookmarks folders. I have a ton of random things saved on my phone that I just no longer need. Same with my bookmarks on my laptop. And then I love to do a little review of all of my apps and like seriously think about every single one and whether I still need it or not. And I only keep the apps that I actually use on like a daily or weekly basis because I don't want to spend more time on my phone if I don't have to. And then I reorganize to keep my apps super neat and minimal. And then along with going through and deleting your text messages, unsubscribe from any like emails that you don't need, the spam ones, to just like keep your inbox clear and you can see all the important stuff. And then a new one for me is deleting your contacts, but me and my friends were talking about this over the weekend, and that's something that I haven't done in years. So I had people from middle school who I have not talked to in like 10 plus years. So I went through, I deleted any contacts that I just no longer need. And then to round it all out, you're gonna refresh your wallpaper because I feel like that just really changes the vibe, changes your mood, and gets you excited and really feels like you're starting fresh. Bonus points if you create a vision board and use that as your wallpaper. I know that was a lot, but we're not done yet, and this is why we're spending the next 2 months doing all of this and not scrambling at the end of the year. We're moving on to the physical stuff, and a lot of this I do like every quarter or monthly or whatever it is, so I just make sure that I do it by the end of the year too, starting with changing out my toothbrush, my razor, my like sponges or loofahs. I use an African net sponge, which those can last you a really long time, but I do want to refresh mine now. I'm also going to wash all of my towels. If your towels are starting to get like old and gross and like you really need to refresh them, then I would suggest replacing those as well, especially like any face towels that you use. I'm also making sure that I wash my makeup and hair brushes, and then I'm going through all of like my pantry, my makeup, my skincare, my medication drawers, and throwing away anything that's expired because we no longer need that. And then I'm also gonna wash all of my sheets, and I rotate my mattress quarterly because it helps with like the longevity of your mattress, and it's supposed to help with like better sleep and everything in general too. So make sure you do that. And then I love a closet clean out. I do these pretty frequently, but especially at the end of the year. Get rid of anything that you no longer wear and anything that doesn't fit you. Your clothes should fit you, so don't try to keep things just because you may fit into them one day in the future. That's just, it's not a good mindset and it doesn't work. And then last, the same way that we've refreshed our wallpaper for our like phones, our laptops, also do that for your space. You don't have to spend a lot of money to do this. You can just like switch out, add a new candle, put a new plant somewhere, or change some of the photos that you have hanging up. You can replace it with new pictures that you took this year. Something to just make you feel like your space is fresh. You can also just like reorganize your furniture and like shift things around, and that can help and like bring like a new energy into your space, which is so helpful for going into a new year. Comment down below if there's anything I missed, and next we're gonna do a 2025 money refresh checklist. So be sure to follow if you wanna see more of this content.
Is there pretty privilege for men, or is it just having a hot wife? My husband and I were just talking about this, and a few months ago, before I gave birth, Before I had my daughter, I was still pregnant and he was going to this joint bachelor party and I just didn't want to go because I was super, super pregnant. A few people that he didn't know there, and he said, at one point, one of the wives who I knew said something really sweet to her husband who we had never met. Said like, oh, you should see Steve's wife and child. Like, they have such a beautiful family. And after they had shown him some of my Instagram pictures, and not saying like I'm the hottest supermodel, but he said they were treating him totally differently. And while I thought that was so funny, he said that was actually pretty normal. That if he was at a meeting where wives were, you naturally, subconsciously or not, probably want to do business with the man with the more attractive wife because it's just an automatic status symbol. If you have a wife who looks like she takes care of herself, it shows that you are probably hardworking. And I started to look into this more, and even when controlling for age, race, education, work experience, etc., married men make 40% more household income than single men. I think productive men are more likely to be married because they're a more attractive candidate. I think marriage also makes a man more productive because you have something important to work for. However, going back to my previous point, there's also the theory that employers may discriminate in favor of married men because they're more likely to be productive. Let me know what you think. Is there pretty privilege for men, or is it really just a hot wife?
Goddess, you literally have a portal between your legs where life comes to this planet. The only way for a human soul to come to this planet, into this universe, why are you not treating yourself and seeing yourself as a fucking goddess? If you can manifest and be a portal for life itself, I mean, think about that, goddess. You can do fucking anything. Let's fucking go.
Here's everything I do to brainwash myself to be a happy, non-anxious person. Using things that I've learned studying neuroscience. I'm not a neuroscience student out of university. This is just something that I study for fun. First thing I do is meditate every single morning without fail. If I only have 5 minutes, I will meditate for 5 minutes. I typically go for 15 to 30. Meditation is one of the best ways to keep and maintain your neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to rewire itself and create new neural pathways so that we can grow and change and glow up. For me, meditating is the most accessible and most lucrative way to support my neuroplasticity. It also increases neurotransmitters and neuromodulators like GABA, serotonin, and dopamine. Dopamine is directly related and responsible for our motivation as individuals. Increased serotonin means increased happiness. Increased GABA leads to a sense of increased calmness. It also improves memory and focus and attention span. It's also a mood stabilizer. Sam Harris is one of my favorite neuroscientists, and he has lots of meditations that I listen to on YouTube almost every single day. The second thing that I do is affirmations. The brain is an association tool. That's why things like affirmations in the mirror and doing mirror work are very effective. If you start saying positive things about yourself in the mirror, the brain will associate those things with you. Confidence, success, intelligence, happiness. I listen to the Wizard Liz's affirmations every single morning. I just happen to really like those. And it's the perfect amount of time for me while I'm doing my skincare in the morning to do it in the mirror. And because of neuroplasticity, affirmations can actually rewire the brain to replace negative thoughts with positive ones. The third thing I do is practice gratitude. When you start noticing things throughout your life where you are on the receiving end of gratitude, a lot of people will write down all the things that they're grateful for, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great practice as well. But it's more efficacious if you think of times where someone has been grateful for you, or someone has expressed gratitude for something that you did, or you are observing someone else on the receiving end of a gratitude exchange. Does that make sense? Thinking about that, literally just stopping and allowing yourself to think about that interaction will rewire the brain. You're welcome for changing your life again.
If you're in your 20s and you've fallen prey to the trap of, oh, I'm getting so old, read a memoir. And also, we're allowed to get older. There's nothing wrong with getting older. It's actually 100% right. I just finished reading/listening to The Third Gilmore Girl, narrated by Kelly Bishop from Gilmore Girls, and a chorus line, and listening to the story of her life. I have never felt younger. Not because of our age difference. I think she was about to turn 80 when she was writing or finishing writing the book. But because of the breadth of life that she has experienced and is continuing to experience, like has the optimism that her experience is not over because she's older, is so inspired. It's exciting. Oh my gosh, she did so much, is doing so much over her life professionally. There's no time limit to how big you can dream, to how much you can love, how many people you can love, the things that you can experience. I think like the idea that has been sold to me, that I have believed, especially as a woman in the South, is that up until my 20s or whatever are for me, but then my 30s and 40s are for someone else, whether it's my career or my partner or my children or whatever it may be. And then like the rest of your life is just sort of looking back on that, trying to preserve what's left of your youth, whatever that even means. And that's really not, that doesn't have to be the case. It's actually not the case. Like, I think some part of me feels like my experience, my human experience, is hindered by the fact that I'm getting older, when I think actually it's being made richer by that, which is so exciting. Like, that's awesome. It reminds me of the Mary Oliver poem that I've talked about before, where she's watching a snake shed its skin and she says, I wonder if it knows what's happening. I wonder if it knows it will work. And listening to her talk about her life made me feel like, oh my God, I don't know what's happening. But maybe it will work. Maybe it will work.
You could be rich as fuck. You could have everything. All the things that you've been inspiring to be, you could have them. But there's so many things you got to change. One of them, the music you listen to. Music is completely designed to put you in a frequency. Look at music throughout the ages. Look at how it literally influenced the culture, the fashion, the art, the design of things. Music did that. If you took a break from listening to music right now, all the music that is out, if you get away from it, the current music, you'd be amazed in 3 days, you would heal sicknesses, you would feel completely fucking different. Listen to nothing, and or if you're going to listen to something, make it be soundtrack music or music from the 60s and 70s.